So this is the extension question. So we're going to do A first. So it says use bar models to calculate 20% of 400. So first we're going to draw a bar, and the whole thing as a percentage is worth 100. So 20% of that, well, there's 5 lots of 20 and 100, so I'm going to split that into 5 bars. And then we've got to think of what each of those bars is worth if the whole bar was worth 400. So if the whole thing was worth 400, 400 divided by 5 is 80. So each one of these is worth 80 if the bar is worth 400. So 20% of 400 is just one of these bars, and therefore the answer is 80. The next question asks you to work out 15% of 60. So again, if we draw a bar, and the whole bar is worth 100, and to get 15% we need to split that. We have to divide 100 by 5 because the biggest number that goes into both 15 and 100 is 5. So 5s into 100 is 20. So if I split this bar into 20 pieces, so there's 20 pieces, and then divide 60 by 20 to work out what each one of those pieces would be worth if the whole bar is worth 60, and that equals 3. So each one of these blocks of this bar is worth 3. And so 15% is 3 parts of this bar, and so it is just those, and therefore 15% of 60 must be 9, and 9 is our answer. Finally, the last one is a little bit more tricky because it requires 2 parts, so 72% of 350. So the first thing we want to do is we want to break that percentage down to 70% and 2%. So the first thing we're going to do is work out what 70% of 350 is. So again, we're going to pretend this whole thing's worth 100%. So we're going to break that down into tens. So go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then, if there's 10 pieces and that whole bar is therefore worth 350 for the question, then each one of those pieces is going to be worth 35. So 70% is going to be 7 lots of 35, and that equals 245. Now we've got 70%, which equals 245, we can now find the 2%. So now we know that 10% is 35, because one of these blocks is 10%. We can then break that 10% down into 1%. So if this whole block is worth 10%, then 1% is going to be a tenth of that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then 10% is worth 35. So that means each one of these is worth 3.5. 2% is going to be 2 lots of that 3.5, and 3.5 times 2 equals 7. So 72% is going to be this plus this. So 245 plus 7, and that equals 252, and that is your answer for that one.